Let me now then give the floor to Giuseppina Delfa, President of the Rainbow Family Association. She's also a militant partner of our associations.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody.
I would like to start by thanking CGIL and everybody for this professional meeting on what is and the meaning of being a member of a rainbow family and to live in Italy and in Europe. All the difficulties of LGBT citizens in Italy. I would like to start from the beginning and start by our lives in order to better understand what we are talking about here. Rainbow Families, the Association of Homosexuals Parents. We have one association, but in reality there is another one. It starts in 2005. There are 800 members approximately, representing 300 families. 300 families, out of which 120 have children. Others are aspiring to have children. So, Association of Homosexual Parents is embracing and supporting whoever has children or whoever wishes children, not only in the same-sex couples, but also single parents, welcoming children coming from previous heterosexual relations. All the citizens, and in particular homosexual same-sex parents, we feel lonely somehow, and we feel abandoned by the Italian state. At first, I heard Paolo Emanuele talking, Paolo Emanuele Rozzo Sordini. He explained all the activities where it took part in fighting against discriminations at a national, European level. Of course, I don't question what he told us, but the result, the outcome for us, the citizens, is still a loneliness feeling, and we have to talk about it. Let's start by our situation in order to better understand what does it mean to be a same-sex couple with children, and with children complications increase. I try to carry out a survey within the Rainbow Families Association to better understand how many of these couples have children, children recognized abroad, and so on and so forth. As I was saying, there are 120 couples with children out of 800 members. Of these 120 couples with children, 42 are married abroad, legally married abroad, 22 female sex, and 36 had access to the civil marriage, and 7 married in England and 1 in Germany. The 6 couples married in Great Britain will marry as soon as the law will be passed. Well, in Spain, 10 couples married, 6 in the United Kingdom, 9 in the United States, 5 in Canada, 4 in Norway, Denmark 2, Argentina 1, Belgium 1, Sweden 1, South Africa 1, and Germany 1. So 26 of these couples are married in Europe and 16 out of Europe. The question we can set, why these couples are marrying, they are going to marry abroad. Why do they marry abroad? The answer sometimes is very simple, but mention should be made of the fact that the marriage abroad is very complicated. Some countries are asking the residence permit. For example, in Spain, the marriage is rather complicated. In France, for known French citizens, it's quite impossible, at least for Italians. There are other nations where the situation is far simpler, like Portugal, Norway, and Sweden, and even in the United Kingdom. But the question is, why are we going abroad to marry? Because this is the first step forward into the recognition. Whoever is going to marry has children, so they try to have children and they marry to legitimate the protection of the children or the future children. So out of 42 couples, how many people wanted an official registration of the marriage in Italy? 13 couples. 29 didn't even make an attempt because they are quite confident of the answer. Before, the speaker said there was a resolution which was passed according to which the marriage wasn't damage to the public order. The answer given by all the civil registries, whenever we submit this marriage certificate abroad, the answer from these civil registers is that the registration is unviable because it is against the public order. So this is a contradiction between what is decided on one side and what is really done in a real life of people. As for children, 42 married couples, 26 have children together. The interesting question is, are you all parents of your children legalized in the country where you married? Yes, for 17 couples, 17 married couples. The numbers of the association are a minimum sample of the reality. Of course, this is a sample taken within the association. So this is a small sample of the real numbers. So we have 17 married couples which are recognized as parents of their children, same-sex couples. 2 are not, for fear of not being accepted again in Italy, and this is refers to the specific parenthood. All our couples of fathers to have children, they go either to the United States or to Canada in order to ask the help of a woman like a surrogate mother. Whenever the child is born, in case of being Canadian or American citizens, they will be the legal fathers of these children. But being Italian citizens, in this case, they fear that going to Italy with a certificate of a double parenthood, the Italian state might not recognize the double affiliation, so children might not be recognized, one of those the fathers. So what is the procedure used in order to be accepted again in Italy? They ask the American or Canadian state to release a birth certificate with the name of one father. They go to Italy, they register the affiliation in the name of one of the fathers, and once fulfilled, they require in the United States and Canada a second document, a second birth certificate with the affiliation. So they are fathers, both of them are fathers, either in Canada or in America, but their children have only one father whenever they go to Italy. So this is a double procedure in order to be accepted in Italy with their children. 9 of these couples are not yet recognized as parents of these children, but there are some proceedings underway in the state abroad. So these couples who marry abroad are aiming at the recognition of the double affiliation, because whenever they live in Italy as single parents, because this is what they are in Italy, poses a series of problems. I don't know, succession laws, wealth, and there are serious cases in the separation, in case of separation of the couple, or inheritance. So maybe one parent could prohibit the other parent to see the child, or maybe the early death of one of the parents. So the one child could be considered as an orphan because the other parent is not recognized, or maybe it might be recognized but with a very long procedures, with lots of mysteries, especially if the origin family is opposing it. These are the huge problems. And then there are a myriad of small problems to be tackled, which can somehow hurt and be an obstacle. Maybe you cannot assign the notes, you cannot in a school of your child. Maybe you cannot sign the report card of your child. Maybe you are considered homophobic because you are not considered to be the parent. In a daily life, people are far more clever than laws, and so all these problems can be overcome. But somehow we rely on the discretion and the goodwill of people, the sensitiveness of these people. But these are acquired rights and well-established rights for other parents. So you cannot rely on the goodwill of the other citizens. How did the double affiliation happen in England? Well, the United Kingdom is at the forefront of the affiliation policies. In some other cases, there are administrative or legal procedures. For example, sometimes in France or in Spain, you have to perform 4 certificates. In Spain, you have to marry, and then as a spouse, you can apply for the adoption. It happened 4 times within the association, and I think you can imagine the organization and the lies behind it, because very often all these couples have a false residence, they rent flats for years, they open a bank account, they register their children in a school. So all these complex procedures seem so unbelievable. People for 2 or 3 years are preparing all this makeup in order to be in peace and to say, these are my children. At least these are my children in Spain, for example. But a double affiliation is not recognized in Italy, but at this stage, nobody's going to deprive you from your children. These are your children. Even for another community. So 7 times the judgment of paternity in US and in Canada. In Argentina, there was an administrative procedure after the marriage, which recognized the double affiliation after the marriage, but without any adoption procedure. And then the parent order in England, as I was saying before, and a joint adoption in South Africa. A couple of women could adopt their children in South Africa. This is the situation. There are a number of procedures of adoption underway in France and in Spain. For the time being, 19 didn't even try to make the double affiliation recognized. There are 3 cases underway. Well, the question I'm posing to Italy, all these situations which are rather absurd, if you cross a border, you lose a parent, or maybe you cross another border, you acquire a parent. Therefore, it is quite difficult to live this experience with the awareness that Europe decides the percentage of cocoa in a chocolate bar, but Europe cannot decide whether the European citizens should be entitled to all the same rights in all the countries. So we are relying a lot on these European instances in order to help Italy to take a step forward on these issues. I would like to tell you some practical anecdotes in order to make you better understand what does it mean to be a citizen living in Europe, living in a country where rights are absent. Maybe I might tell you my story, the story of my life. I'm a French citizen, but at the same time, I'm an Italian citizen. I think you can perceive my Italian with a French accent. I came to live to Italy 23 years ago with my partner. In the year 2000, the civil partnership law was passed in France, so we went to the French consulate in Naples, so we were the number 00001, but this civil partnership has not been recognized in Italy. Then we registered in the same civil registry status in the country where we are living, but this family law doesn't recognize anything. And then we had some children. The first daughter was conceived in Belgium. She was conceived in Belgium in a state hospital. Same-sex couples are welcomed with the same rights. And thanks to this, with this procreation, they can conceive children. In the waiting room of the hospital, there were so many same-sex couples waiting for their turn. You could recognize from the readings. They were reading either Repubblica or Corriere della Sera, these Italian open-minded newspapers. But there was a difference. Whenever these couples, straight couples, are coming back to Italy, the couples are recognized as two parents. In the lesbian couple, this is not the case. And the same couples resorting to medically assisted procreation. In Italy, the situation is rather different. But the process and the procedure to have children is the same. So I think we should reflect upon it. Second son was conceived in Spain. Therefore, we have two children, one conceived in Belgium, one conceived in Spain, but both of them were born in Italy. On October the 5th, we married in France. Therefore, my personal situation is rather complex, as you can see. We are married, but this marriage is not recognized in Italy. We have 2 children, and we started the adoption procedure of the spouse in France. The fact of being married doesn't make us parents. In Argentina, for example, the procedure is far simpler. For example, with just an order, a ruling by the judge, they could be, both of them, mothers. In our case, we are facing a complex adoption procedure. As far as I know, there is a good willing, but maybe the procedure could have been far simpler. Therefore, we started this adoption procedure of the child of my spouse. I should adopt the child of my spouse and vice versa. But when my children will be at last my children and I will be back to Italy with a double affiliation, this double affiliation won't be recognized by the Italian state. And therefore, we have to start another procedure in order to make the Italian state recognize our children. And there are so many couples in this situation. For instance, the story of Ingrid and Adele, one Italian and the other South African. They married in South Africa. They adopted two children. They wanted to be back to Italy. But in Italy, the double affiliation is not recognized, and it won't be recognized. So they prefer to live in Belgium, where the marriage and the double affiliation has been recognized. At this stage, they are trying to obtain the Italian citizenship for their children, because Adele is Italian. She's the mother of the children. So they started a procedure in order to gain the citizenship, and they will go on for the second procedure for the double affiliation. Mario and Walter, fathers of 3 children conceived in the United States, born in the United States. They are the 2 fathers of the 3 children. They married in Spain, and they apply and obtain the adoption of the children of the spouse. So they are both the fathers of the 3 children. Now they started a procedure in order to have the recognition of the double affiliation in Italy. And then there is a very quite famous Spanish case of this child, which is the son of 2 Italian mothers. And due to the jus sanguinis, he enjoys the Italian nationality. And when the mothers wanted to be back to Italy with their child, they are being told that they couldn't register the affiliation because the double affiliation is not recognized. 2 mothers are not possible in Italy. So they are forced to have a child without documents, without Italian documents. And he hasn't Spanish documents because he's not Spanish, because he's son of 2 Italians. So for the time being, this child is like a stateless child. So I don't know, what is going to do, I mean, in Italy, the Italian state, what is going to do when it will be overwhelmed by all these petitions? There is no single country, with the exception of Italy, denies these rights. So Italy is surrounded and overwhelmed by all these families who are forced to marry abroad in order to protect their family and their children, but they keep living in Italy. Or we have the Constitutional Court, which ruled that in the absence of the recognition of the marriage, all the benefits and status of the marriage should be recognized in Italy. So Italy forces all these citizens to file lawsuits in order to enjoy these rights and prerogatives and rights that other citizens enjoy automatically. So we feel discriminated. Some people enjoy their right, some others don't. Some people enjoy their rights because they win some lawsuits. So we are in a situation of terrible injustice, really unjust. I think the Italian state, as I was saying before, has abandoned us. We feel abandoned. We feel lonely, and all the LGBT community is abandoned. We take on board all the work which is underway, but we need laws to protect people, and not some patches that you gently put on something just to solve the problem for a short time. I could tell you so many anecdotes. For example, the passport. The passport is an evidence of the difficulties faced. At the moment, our children, which are not legally children of both spouses because of lack of funds and so on and so forth, these children are only children of one spouse, of one parent. When the mother, which is not the legal mother, would like to travel abroad with one of the child, she has to apply for a specific document, an accompanying license letter, which is so complex, which is released by the police headquarters. But Italian law envisages the name of an accompanying person registered in the passport. But all these police headquarters are refusing to add the name of the known legal parent, because somehow there is some fear and there is a disruption vis-à-vis the family structure. People are fearing to tackle these issues. That's why now we apply to the SCAD body under the umbrella of the state police in order to allow an easy registration of the name and the passports of minors, for example. That might be a huge step forward. Luckily enough, in this disastrous situation, in this tragic scenario, there are some good news. And thanks to the work of the trade union, specifically CGIL, for example, the leave, which is the family leave, which is released sometimes with very good and open-minded employers. I work in the university, and according to the law, I was entitled to this document certifying my rights. So we could obtain this nuptial or matrimonial leave. For example, in Spain, when they went to Spain, they had half the wage because they weren't authorized to this leave. So they obtained the leave, but without retribution, with no retribution. So we rely on the goodwill and the just interpretation of things. I would like to conclude by giving you some good news. The negotiation between trade unions and labor market, news of last week. I'm going to look for it. I beg your pardon, I just It's a minute. Okay, the turning point of the Coppa Adriatica. There was a negotiation. The Coppa Adriatica recognizes to same-sex couples a series of advantages and rights on the same footing of the other straight couples. Once again, I would like to reiterate that we cannot have these evident discriminations which rely on the goodwill or the discretion of some people. This is not constitutional. This is not legal. I could also tell you the story of the inheritance-related issues where our children are damaged. It's extremely complicated. I already drafted my will 5 times. According to the different countries of birth, according to our wealth and assets, I had to do the will 4 times, and the same thing for my spouse. This is absurd. I think by a simple regulation we could fix all these problems. That's why we are marrying, because the marriage sold in 3 seconds. Whenever I signed that document, it solved a series of questions and issues that required years to be tackled. Therefore, this is my conclusion. We don't need patches here. We need laws, regulations to put all the citizens at the same level. Thank you.
Grazie.
Thank you so much. To talk the truth, our collaboration bore some fruits. There were some agreements, for example. The civil registry family, for example, which is a step forward. I'm referring to the national agreement, or the fact that this reality, which is so big, so complex, and so relevant, for some people is totally unknown. So this collaboration is functioning, gave some results, and I take pride in these results. I would like better results, of course, and more, but for the time being, they are there. So this is something. And